Do you like tanks? Do you like miniatures? Do you like the idea of looking at tanks and miniatures at the same time? Well, that's what I was able to do at the Tank Museum in Bovington recently at the Southwest Model Show, which was a lot of fun, and I even entered their painting competition. So welcome to Wyvern Minis, my name's Dan, and if you stick around, I'll tell you all about it. I've been down to the Tank Museum in Bovington a lot of times. I've got an interest in military history, military vehicles and things like that. Hence a t-shirt. And so I really enjoy it, and I can't get enough of it. I've been down for lots of their events. That would include Tank Fest and Tiger Day. They do twice a year, where they get Tiger 131, which is the only running Tiger left in the world, and drive it around the arena. It's fantastic. The noise of that thing, it's brilliant. It's a sight to behold, and I'd highly recommend going if you can. They even do some sort of reenactment sometimes where they actually have a bit of a battle going on. They do that a lot at Tank Fest, but occasionally at Tiger Day, big explosions and things. I took the girls down there. They loved it. It was a bit noisy for them, but they did enjoy it. And I've been to photography events where they clear everyone out in the evening, and you can get really nice quality photos like these, with some interesting lighting. Great fun, you know. And if you've seen the movie Fury, then that Tiger features in Fury, but they've also got the Sherman that played Fury at the Tank Museum. The guys from the Tank Museum are involved in making the film and driving the tanks around, so if you're into it, that's great. This is an old World War One Mark IV tank. It's a replica, but this was used in films as well. It's great. I mean, it's just such a lot of cool stuff to see. And if you take a short walk outside the front of the museum, turn around past the arena, you can go to the Vehicle Conservation Centre, where they have so many tanks packed in there. It's unbelievable. Just wall-to-wall tanks, things that they can't include in the regular exhibits. It often moves around. They change the order of where things are, and sometimes you even get a chance to walk amongst all those tanks parked in there, which is great. I mean, the smell of all the petrol and diesel, I love it. And you'll always see something new. Every time I go to the Tank Museum, I think I've seen something new, which is a testament to a great museum. So I've been down to the Tank Museum quite a lot. It's a really good place to go if you're interested in military history, military vehicles and things like that. It's brilliant. And even if you're not, you know, taking the wife down there and the kids for Tiger Day to see the Tiger driving around, it's a fantastic day out, even if you've only got a passing interest in it. But the Southwest Model Show is a really interesting one, because they've actually got people displaying their models and things going on for modelers. Tends to be more scale modelers rather than kind of sci-fi fantasy. So you don't see an awful lot of Warhammer type stuff there, but you see a lot of scale models of tanks, ships, planes, remote control vehicles and things like that. And it's just a really good day out. There's a lot to do. And they have started running a painting competition there with various categories, one of which is a kind of sci-fi fantasy one, which is the category that I entered using my green dragon, which I'm very proud of. It's not the first time I've taken my little girl down to the Tank Museum, but she had a great day. It's really cool seeing it through the eyes of a kid as well. You see different stuff. Matt is my mate. He loves his Star Wars droids, and there was loads of activities to do all over the place. The whole show is set out with stalls amongst the tanks in the main museum, so you can go and buy models or play with things and have a little experiences with the modelling. It's wonderful. They also have Daleks knocking about, which was interesting. My little girl's never seen Doctor Who before, but she was pretty scared of the Daleks, which was, I guess, kind of funny. They were really playing along with the whole thing, getting involved. There was a Dalek Q&A you could go and do, which we didn't manage to do because she would have been too scared. And they had announcements coming over the tannoy from the Daleks, warning everyone that it was under Dalek control and things like that, which was pretty hilarious. And they also did this. Tommy, get a little footage of it going. If it goes, I'm watching you. So it's loads of fun at the model show, people getting really into it, you know. And I've always found that these staff and volunteers at the Tank Museum are first rate. You know, you can get loads of information from talking to the people there. They're all really enthusiastic, very knowledgeable, and it's all round just a great experience. So one of the main things I wanted to do was enter this dragon into the painting competition at the model show, and that's what I did. I was very proud of this dragon. I'll talk a bit later about how I painted it, so stick around for that. So I got it set up on the table. It was just in a little room off to the side, which was all fine. They had lots of categories for different types of military vehicles, but only one for sci-fi and fantasy. So you can see there's a lot of different models included in that sci-fi and fantasy category, which I think makes the judging of that category really quite difficult. So I got silver place in the sci-fi fantasy category, which I was quite happy with. I'd have loved gold, but you know, I was just dipping my toe back into competitions because I've not done it for a long time. The gold place went to this diorama, zombies attacking a house. Very, very well constructed, really interesting, made nicely between the two different frames there. Painting was pretty good, and you know, the overall concept I think was great. But like I said, trying to compare a flashing Enterprise against a diorama of hobbits and a single miniature, and there was some big robot the other side, trying to compare all these different models together, very, very difficult thing to do, I think. Personally, I'd like it if they had more categories for sci-fi and fantasy to split it up a bit, but it is the Tank Museum, it's focused on military vehicles, that's fair enough. And this is the winner, a really cool little diorama of a broken down tank. I thought this was done really well, and definitely a worthy winner. I didn't get many photos of anything else, unfortunately, because everything was taken down by the time I got back there, which was a shame. But overall, it's a really nice little competition. I'm glad I entered it. Now, it was a while ago I put this dragon together, so unfortunately I've only got photos as opposed to video footage of it, but you can get the idea of what I did. This was a present from my gaming group. I ran a D&D campaign for them, which went on quite a while, and they gave me this dragon at the end as a thank you, which was lovely, nice surprise. It's from Zealot Miniatures, I'll put the link below, and it went together very nicely. Lovely resin piece, nice big wingspan. Wings are a little fragile, so a little bit difficult to transport, but you know, it works okay, and it does look absolutely gorgeous. The detail is fantastic on it. It's a real delight to paint and put together. Didn't have too much in the way of sort of gaps or anything like that, or any modification needed doing. Just a little bit of green stuff in a few of the small joins and that. That's all. I think I mostly use liquid green stuff on that because the little gaps are only very small. But yeah, lovely model, and I decided I wanted to do something quite special with the base, so I put it on a large round base and built it up a little bit. This is before I had a 3D printer, so I bought some bits and pieces off of eBay and Etsy and wherever else I could find them. A couple of dead guys, because I figured adventurers that had tried to come and defeat the dragon, that might look cool. Just stones from the garden and bits and pieces out of my bits box there, shield and axe, just anything really to make it look interesting but without putting too much on the base. Then a load of sand and grit. I like using different kind of grades of grit and sand to make it look a bit more realistic. I've talked about that in other videos, but I might do some more videos on basing at some point. I like to try and keep them separate as much as I can, so I can kind of decide where to sprinkle bigger bits and smaller bits. So some of these large bits of stones might look a bit like rubble. I've also got some of the basing bits from Age of Sigmar, the large basing bits, just to give the impression that there's some sort of ruined temple or something that these adventurers have been exploring, and then they've got perhaps ambushed by a dragon. And I decided to go green for this one. He just felt like a green dragon to me for no particular reason. So I sprayed it black at first and then Death Guard green over the top to give a nice solid green to start with, but because of doing the black first, you've got a little bit of pre-shading built into it already, and that's just to really bring out all of those scales and all that detail. So the scales really lend themselves to a bit of dry brushing, so that's what I did. I used various shades of green. I wish I could tell you which ones I used, but I can't remember, it was a long time ago, sorry about that. Did a bit of contrast paints or shade paints, which brought out a bit more colour in it, and then I knocked that back with a bit more muted green dry brushing, because I didn't want it to be a very bright green dragon. I wanted it to be a kind of realistic, sort of realistic, it is a dragon after all, but a sort of realistic colour, and that's why I also went for kind of beige on the wings and just a simple bone colour on the spines along its back and on its chest and that kind of stuff. I wanted the dragon itself to be fairly muted and realistic looking, and then to add a bit of contrasting colour, I put some purple on the stone on the base, which I thought, you know, green and purple on your colour wheel, they go together quite nicely, and little pops of colour from the dead guys on the base as well. That would make it look interesting, while the dragon itself was not drab but not ostentatious and multicoloured. I wanted it to look like it could be a real lizard flying through the air. Nice bit of gore around the mouth where he's been biting those pesky adventurers, cheeky dragon, and on the guys themselves on the base, you know, it kind of just brought it to life and made a little story, which I think is important in these sort of miniatures. So using a bit of that technical blood paint before washing them, and then after putting a wash on, putting a bit more, so you've got some old blood and some new glistening blood on top, kind of works quite nicely. And then that was it really. It wasn't a hugely complicated process, but I think the result was pretty good. And there he is in all his glory. I named him Venomthrax, Scourge of the Verdant Plains. Felt like a good green dragon name, and he's ready for battling the heroes in any future D&D campaigns, which I'm hoping to get back onto later this year if I can find the time. I'd really love to do that, because it's a lot of fun and it's something I'd like to document here on the videos. But overall, joining the painting competition at the Southwest Model Show at the Tank Museum, great fun. I'd highly recommend going along. If you're into minis, into tanks, you know, and even if you're not, you'll probably have a good day out. Definitely a good laugh, and it's nice to have a focus really if you want to try and get something painted up to put in the competition. It's a relatively small competition, not too daunting. It's not like Golden Demon or whatever, but just join a small painting competition. You know, you could do far worse. But yeah, definitely get yourself down to the Tank Museum, and they have the model show on twice a year, so I think it's February and September, so I'll be hopefully going along next time, and might see you there. Cheers.